There was blood on my sleeve. Not his. Mine. And the part that still fries my brain is how she looked at me. Not like a man who just got shoved into a glass divider. Not like her husband. But like I was the one who ruined his night. It started in the office parking lot. 8:43 p.m. on a Thursday. We weren't supposed to be there. I wasn't even supposed to show up. I had just left my shift at the loading docks, covered in grease and one bad mood away from quitting. But my phone buzzed, and there it was. Still here finishing reports with Troy. Might be a while. No punctuation. No love you. Just Troy. That name again. The same name that had slipped into our life like a bad smell. First through her mouth, then through our living room, then through her phone late at night, like clockwork. I'd never met the guy. Not properly. I'd only seen glimpses, Instagram tags, blurry team photos, that one networking dinner I skipped because I wasn't dressed nice enough. She always said I was being dramatic. But that night, something cracked. I drove there. I know. It sounds unhinged. But I didn't go to fight. I went because I couldn't take another night falling asleep to her giggling at her phone while telling me she was just stressed. And what did I find when I parked across the lot, behind her work building? Her car. Lights off. Empty. Then his. Then the two of them walking out the back employee exit. She was laughing, the kind of laugh I hadn't heard from her in months. The laugh I thought I'd killed with my neediness. The one I used to earn. And then, he touched her back. Not a full grab. Just a light, guiding hand that stayed 1 second too long. She didn't flinch. She didn't move. She just let it stay there. I don't remember walking over. I don't remember what I said first. All I know is by the time they turned around, my voice was shaking and my stomach was in knots. I said something like, "So this is what working late looks like." He laughed. She didn't say a word. Troy took a step forward. Said I was overstepping. Called me buddy. Told me I needed to calm down before I embarrass myself. I told him to get his hand off my wife. He said, "She doesn't look like your wife tonight." And I swear, I blacked out for a second. We didn't throw punches. I'm not that guy. But when I shoved him, hard, he tripped on the curb and yanked me down with him. My arm hit the corner of the steel trash bin. Split right open. White-hot pain shot up my elbow. And that's when she finally spoke. "Troy, are you okay?" Not. "Lyle, are you hurt?" Not. "Babe, what the hell?" No. She ran to him. Not me. While I was bleeding. Literally. I staggered up, held my arm, looked at her with everything I had left. And she just glared like I ruined something sacred. That's when I said it. One sentence. 6 words. I swear it wasn't planned. I didn't rehearse it. It just came out, cold and perfect and sharp enough to break through whatever spell she was under. And from the second those words left my mouth, everything changed. But I'll get to that. Because before the fallout, before the lawyers, the apartment split, and the voicemail I got from his fiancée, I had to be sure. I had to know what really happened between them. And what I uncovered. It made the bleeding feel like mercy. You'd think after bleeding in a parking lot and watching your wife rush to another man's side, there'd be nothing left to hurt. That you'd be numb, detached, floating above it all like some ghost of a marriage that used to matter. But the truth is, humiliation has layers. And I hadn't even peeled back the worst ones yet. The ride home was silent. She didn't speak. Neither did I. My shirt was still sticky from blood, and the AC in the car made my arm throb like someone was jabbing a fork into it. She didn't ask if I needed a hospital. She didn't even ask if I was okay. She just stared out the window like the man sitting beside her wasn't the same one who once built her a garden bed by hand, because she said she missed her grandma's tomatoes. When we got home, I expected, I don't know, anything. An apology, an argument, a breakdown. But she just went into the kitchen, poured herself a glass of wine, and sat down like nothing happened. I asked her, "Why didn't you defend me?" She didn't even look at me. "Because you made a scene." I made a scene? The man put his hands on you. He touched you like I wasn't real. He mocked our marriage with a grin, and you ran to him when I bled on concrete. I opened my mouth to say more, but all I managed was, "He touched you, Danny. You didn't stop him." And then, with this cold, robotic sigh, she said, "It didn't mean anything, Lyle. Don't be dramatic." Dramatic. That word sat in my chest like a concrete block, because she'd been using it a lot lately. Every time I asked questions, every time I showed a hint of emotion, every time I wasn't stoned. She went to bed early that night, left me sitting on the couch with a damp paper towel on my arm and thoughts screaming at full volume. That's when I decided to look. Not because I wanted to be the creepy, snooping husband, but because I had to. I needed to know if I was crazy, if I was losing it, if I had finally become the insecure loser she kept implying I was. I picked up her phone while she slept. I wasn't ready for what I saw. Honestly, I thought I'd find flirty emojis or after-hours texts. Maybe a stupid meme or two. But what I found was deeper, more calculated. Emotional cheating dressed up in colleague banter. He'd called her Sunbeam in one message. Said her laugh helped him get through the gray parts. She responded with a heart. A red one. Not a thumbs up. Not a laugh emoji. A heart. Another message read, Troy, I wish we worked late every night. You're the only real thing in that building. Danny, you're the only reason I haven't quit. They talked about books. About her childhood. About things she never even told me. Like how she used to draw comic strips in middle school, or that she wanted to move to Vermont once she escaped the grind. Escape? Was I the grind? I backed out of the messages before I could see more. My hands were shaking. I felt sick. Not angry sick. Just hollow. Like someone had taken a melon baller to my chest and scooped everything out. But the worst part wasn't even that. The worst part came the next morning. Because I forgot to close the app. When she woke up and grabbed her phone, I was in the kitchen trying to make coffee without breaking the mug in my hand. I heard the screen unlock. The silence. The shuffle of her feet as she came around the corner. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just looked at me and said, You had no right. No right. That's when I snapped. I had no right. After you let him touch you? After he knew my dog's name, and I didn't even know you two were meeting outside work? You think I'm the villain here? And you know what she said? I never cheated, Lyle. You're twisting everything. You always do this. Gaslighting. Classic. But I didn't bite. I said nothing. Not until I left. I walked out, got into my truck, drove until I hit a gas station off I-41, and sat in the parking lot for 2 hours staring at the pump numbers. That's when it happened. My phone buzzed, an unknown number. Voicemail. I pressed play. And what I heard, it was a butt dial. From her. I could hear her voice and his. And the words they were saying? Let's just say it was not work-related. Not at all. And that was the moment I finally knew. It was worse than I thought. But the best part? I recorded it. And I hadn't even used my one sentence yet. I sat in the gas station lot, engine off, phone in my lap, just listening. Replaying the voicemail over and over like some broken masochist who couldn't believe the knife had finally landed. You ever hear someone you love, someone you still want to trust, laugh in a way that sounds like it was never meant for you? That voicemail, as accidental as it was proof. Not of a kiss, not of sex, but worse in a way. It was proof that she let him in. Emotionally, mentally, intimately. In the background of the call, I could hear her voice, light and teasing. His voice deeper, closer. I caught words like, Don't tempt me. You're the reason I hate weekends. You always smell like cinnamon, you know that? And her reply? She giggled. Then she said, Stop. You're going to get me in trouble. Trouble. She said it like a joke. Like her husband wasn't already unraveling in real time. I sat there until my coffee was cold and my right hand went numb from gripping the steering wheel. Then I drove home, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to see her reaction. I wanted to give her the chance to say it herself. To admit it. To tell the truth. Or at least lie with some shred of regret. When I walked in, she was on the couch watching some awful reality show. Legs tucked under a throw blanket like nothing had happened. I didn't say hi. I didn't even take off my shoes. I walked in, grabbed the remote, muted the TV, and pulled up the voicemail. I played it. Loud. I watched her face the entire time. Not once did she flinch. Her mouth tightened, her eyes locked on mine. Not scared, not ashamed, cornered. When it ended, I didn't say anything. I waited. And that's when she said the words I'll never forget. You weren't supposed to hear that. Not. It's not what it sounds like. Not. Lyle, let me explain. Not even. I'm sorry. Just that. You weren't supposed to hear it. Like the real betrayal wasn't what she did, but that I had the audacity to catch her. I felt like screaming. I wanted to throw the phone across the room or punch the wall or cry or maybe all three. But instead, I asked her how long. She didn't answer. Danny, how long has this been going on? She swallowed hard. Her voice was so quiet I had to lean forward to catch it. Nothing happened physically. I laughed. I actually laughed. The kind of broken, bitter laugh that feels like it belongs to someone else. That's not what I asked. She stood up, arms crossed like she needed armor. I don't know, Lyle. Maybe since March. March. It was August. 5 months. 5 months of pretending, of kissing me goodnight, of posting anniversary photos, of telling her mother how lucky she was, while secretly playing footsie with some office Casanova behind my back. She started pacing. I didn't plan it, okay? It just happened. We clicked. He listened. He saw me. You've been. Say it, I interrupted. What? Just say what you've been dying to say. She froze. Bit her lip. You've been boring, Lyle. Distant. I feel like I'm raising you half the time. You pick fights. You're paranoid. You never push back. I needed. She trailed off. You needed someone who wasn't me. I finished for her. She didn't deny it. And that's when I said the sentence, the one that changed everything. I took a breath, stared her down, and said, then you don't get to keep both of us. I saw the words hit her like a slap. She blinked. Her lip trembled. For the first time in months, she looked afraid, because she realized I wasn't going to fight for her anymore. She'd already made her choice. She just hadn't realized the price. I left that night, but I didn't go to a friend's. I didn't check into a hotel. I went somewhere that would give me answers. And the things I found there, they changed everything I thought I knew, not just about her and Troy, but about who I really married. I drove through half the city that night without a plan, the headlights cutting through the fog like a knife I couldn't put down. My brain wouldn't stop replaying it. Her voice on that voicemail, the way she said his name like a secret she loved keeping. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized something didn't add up. 5 months. 5 months of nothing physical, as she put it. If that was true, why did she sound so comfortable in that call? Why did he know things only someone who had been there would know? Like the cinnamon perfume she only wore on weekends. I wasn't going to take her word for it. She had lied too easily. So, I made the stupidest, most desperate decision of my life. I went to her office. I still had a spare key card from the holiday volunteer drive last year. I helped them move boxes, and no one ever deactivated it. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely swipe it at the gate. But when the little green light blinked, something inside me lit up too. The place was quiet, the kind of dead silence that makes every sound feel like a confession. Her desk was in the far corner by the window, half covered with old coffee mugs and sticky notes. Her nameplate still had the little heart sticker I'd put on it as a joke. It felt surreal, like I was walking through the ghost of a life that used to be mine. I opened her drawer. At first, I found the usual junk, gum wrappers, pens, a half-empty bottle of Advil, and receipts. But then, behind a stack of reports, I saw a small black notebook. Not her handwriting. His. The cover said Project Notes, T and D. My pulse started hammering. I opened it. Inside were meeting sketches, yes, but also small things written in the margins. Things no coworker should write. She was wearing the green dress again. Couldn't focus. Her laugh made the numbers meaningless. Told her about the cabin. She said, maybe someday. Cabin. I had never heard about a cabin. I turned the page, and a photo slipped out. It was a Polaroid, him and her, sitting together at some team-building retreat. His arm was around her, her head tilted toward his shoulder, the kind of intimacy you can't fake for the camera. She looked happy. Genuinely, stupidly happy, in a way she hadn't looked at me for a long time. I sat there, in her office chair, clutching that photo like it was evidence in a trial I already knew the verdict for. I felt so ridiculous. I had been defending her, rationalizing everything, telling myself maybe I was paranoid. But there it was. Proof. And even if she wanted to twist it later, even if she said, it's just a picture, Lyle, I knew deep down, no woman leans into a man like that unless something real has already happened. That's when I heard the elevator ding. I froze. It was 12:14 a.m. Who the hell would be here this late? I shut the drawer, shoved the notebook under my jacket, and ducked into the side hallway. I could hear footsteps, slow, heavy, deliberate. Then a voice. His voice. Told you I'd grab the laptop in the morning, he said, laughing quietly. Didn't think you'd beat me to it. Her voice followed. Her voice. I couldn't sleep, she said softly. I just needed to see it again. See what again? I peeked around the corner, and what I saw nearly stopped my heart. She was standing there with him, right in the middle of the empty office floor, her hand tracing his arm. He wasn't surprised to see her. He was expecting her. She leaned up and kissed him, quick, but real. Then she whispered, "I told him it was over." I stepped back before I could make a sound. My knees almost gave out. I pressed my hand against the wall and felt my body start to shake. I wanted to scream, to run at them, to break something. But instead, I walked out the side exit and sat in my truck, watching the reflection of that empty window where they stood. My wife had lied. Not for 5 months. Probably longer. She didn't just click with him. She chose him. But the next morning, I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because for the first time in this entire nightmare, I realized I held something she didn't know I had. The voicemail, the photo, and that notebook. And I was done being the quiet, forgiving fool. I was going to make her tell the truth, not because I wanted her back, but because I wanted her to see what it felt like when someone finally stopped protecting her lies. And when I did, she wasn't the only one who broke. The next part of the story started the moment she opened her phone and saw what I had sent to him. The morning light didn't feel like light. It felt like a highlighter dragging across everything I didn't want to face. Her spot in the bed was empty. I didn't ask where she was. I already knew. Somewhere with him. Or thinking about him. Or texting him in that fake, whispery tone she used when she didn't want me to overhear. She probably thought I was still asleep. I sat at the edge of the bed, her notebook in my hands, the photo tucked inside, and the voicemail downloaded to my laptop. And I stared at them like they were pieces of a bomb I could no longer defuse. I wasn't looking for closure anymore. I was looking for clarity. For justice. For control. And I had a plan. Not the kind of rage-fueled fantasy you see in movies. I didn't want to yell at him in a parking lot or confront her in front of friends. That's what she expected. That's what they were both waiting for me to explode, look crazy, make it easy to write me off. So I did the opposite. I acted calm. I made coffee. I ironed my shirt. I even packed her a sandwich the way I used to, with the crusts cut off and a dumb little sticky note that said, "Don't work too hard." But while she was showering, I sent him something. One simple message. No words. No explanation. Just a photo. The Polaroid. And the voicemail. I sent it from a burner email account I made 10 minutes earlier. No name. No signature. Just, figured you should hear what loyalty really sounds like. Then I waited. She left without saying goodbye. I pretended not to care. She wore perfume that wasn't her usual, the kind she only used on special occasions. I knew who it was for. Not me. Not anymore. About 2 hours later, the storm started. She texted me once, around 10:47 a.m. "Did you go through my things?" I didn't respond. Then, at 11:32, "Lyle, what did you do?" Still nothing from me. At 12:11 p.m., she called. I let it ring. Voicemail. No message. By 12:15, she was home. Bursting through the door like a woman possessed, cheeks flushed, breathing heavy, her work bag barely zipped. She slammed it on the floor and stared at me. "You sent it to him, didn't you?" I stayed on the couch, flipping through the news like I was catching up on the weather. "What exactly did I send?" I asked. Calm. Controlled. She paced like a caged animal. "You had no right. That wasn't yours to. You mean this?" I said, holding up the Polaroid with 2 fingers. "Or the voicemail you weren't supposed to hear? Or the pages of his writing about how you look in green dresses and how you smell like cinnamon?" Her face turned sheet white. "Lyle, it was stupid. We never." "Don't." "I mean it," she snapped. "Don't act like you're some innocent victim. You've been pulling away for months. You made this space. You just filled it. And I documented it," I said flatly. "Turns out, your affairs got pretty good plot development." She looked like she wanted to slap me. Instead, she grabbed her phone and called someone. I couldn't hear who, but her voice cracked, and she said, "He knows everything." Then she went quiet for a long, long time. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. That would have been easier. Instead, she sat down across from me and asked one question. "What do you want?" It hit me then. She wasn't denying it anymore. She wasn't spinning stories or crying betrayal. No more pretending it was a gray area. She was asking how much it would cost. And that was the most disgusting part of all. I didn't answer right away. Because honestly, I didn't know. What did I want? An apology? Revenge? Closure? Did I want to see her miserable? Did I want to pack her stuff and toss it out on the lawn while the neighbors peeked through blinds? No, not yet. I wanted her to feel it. To live in the weight of what she did. To spend every hour not knowing what I'd do next. And to wonder if the man she traded me for was already starting to back away. Because here's the secret she didn't know yet. Troy had responded. And what he sent back changed everything. When I saw the notification on my burner inbox, my heart actually skipped. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe a rage-filled denial, maybe some smug retort, maybe even silence. But when I opened it and saw the name Troy, replying to that anonymous email, I froze. The message was short. No greeting. No punctuation. Just 4 chilling words. You should talk to her. That was it. That was all he wrote. Not even a question mark. I stared at the screen for a solid minute. The tone wasn't angry. It wasn't guilty. It felt hollow, like someone washing their hands of something. I refreshed. No follow-up. No explanation. You should talk to her. Suddenly, it didn't feel like I was the only one being betrayed. Something was off. My chest got tight. Not the angry, I'm about to destroy everything tight, but that cold, sick anxiety that creeps in when you realize you're only seeing one side of the house burning, and someone just opened another door. I didn't tell her I saw his message. I didn't want her to know yet that he had responded. Instead, I watched her closely, the way she paced the kitchen while on calls, the way she kept checking her phone and muting the screen when she caught me glancing over. Her face was more than just tense. She was unraveling. By noon, she came into the living room and sat across from me. No yelling this time. No fake anger. Just that brittle tone of someone trying to hold something together with dental floss. Can we talk? I didn't say yes. I didn't nod. I just looked at her. She took a breath. I know I screwed up. I know that. I don't need another reminder. But what I need to know now is what you're planning to do. I almost laughed. Like it was a negotiation. Like this was a company split, not a marriage disintegrating. I'm not planning anything, I said. Not yet. She shifted. Her eyes scanned the floor, the wall behind me, anywhere but directly at my face. Because if you send anything else, there's nothing left to send, I interrupted, lying through my teeth. Silence. Then she said, he blocked me. That got my attention. He what? Her lip twitched. This morning, after I got to work. Just disappeared. No calls, no messages. His extension at the office says he's on leave. I don't even. She stopped herself. Realized she'd just admitted more than she meant to. You don't even know where he is. I finished for her. She didn't deny it. I stood up, walked to the window. My reflection in the glass looked like a stranger. Pale, stiff, lost in a war I didn't know I'd enlisted in. I sent him the photo, I said. And the voicemail. Her breath caught. And the notebook, I added. I told him I'd give it to HR if he ever came near our house again. She covered her face. Her shoulders sagged like someone had unplugged her spine. You did this to humiliate me. I turned back around, shaking my head. No. I did this so the man who thought he could gut my marriage and walk away with a trophy knew exactly who he was dealing with. Then came the unexpected. She cried. Not loud sobbing. Not crocodile tears. Just quiet, raw, painful crying. The kind that sounds like someone is trying not to fall apart, but already has. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for anything real. You don't get to do that now, I said, my voice shaking. You don't get to cry like you're the victim. She didn't fight me. She didn't say a word. Just sat there, staring at the floor, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. That's when she said something I never thought I'd hear. You don't know the whole story. And something about the way she said it stopped me cold. Then tell me, I said. But she didn't. She just stood up, walked past me, stopped at the hallway, turned back. You should check the mailbox. There's a letter you weren't supposed to see. It came last week. I was going to hide it. But now, you might as well read it. Then she disappeared into the bedroom. My heart started hammering again. A letter? What kind of letter? What the hell else had she been hiding? I walked outside barefoot. The sidewalk was scorching. I opened the mailbox. There it was, a single cream-colored envelope with no return address. My name, written in pen, but not in her handwriting. I opened it right there on the lawn. The letter was only a few lines long. And when I finished reading it, my knees almost gave out. Because it wasn't from Danny. It wasn't from Troy. It was from his wife. The envelope was trembling in my hands, though I couldn't tell if it was the summer heat or the adrenaline. I read the letter twice before I could process the words. My eyes kept returning to the signature at the bottom, not a name I recognized, but a title. Troy's wife. I didn't even know he was married. The letter wasn't long, but it might as well have been a grenade. It started soft, almost polite, but each sentence tightened like a noose. You don't know me, but I know you exist. I've known for a while now. I'm sorry to do this through a letter, but I figured if I sent it to your house, she'd find it. And if you're reading this, she didn't. My husband's been involved with your wife for longer than you think. I found messages. I found photos. I stayed quiet for too long. There was a copy of a photo paperclip to the inside, one I hadn't seen. Not the retreat photo. Not anything I had from the notebook. No, this one was worse. They were in a hotel room. She was lying on the bed, still fully clothed, laughing at something off-screen. He was taking the photo in the mirror. His shirt was off. He was grinning. They looked comfortable. Casual. Like this wasn't their first time. Like they belonged there. And the kicker? The date stamp in the corner was from December of last year. That was 9 months ago. Before Valentine's Day. Before our anniversary trip. Before the time she cried on the balcony and told me she felt disconnected and lost, and I blamed myself. I believed her. I tried harder. I started cooking more, asking about her day, even booked couples counseling she never showed up to. She was already in someone else's bed. I sat on the front steps for over an hour with that letter, reading it again and again like the pages might suddenly change. But they didn't. The truth was already printed. At the bottom, there was one more line. I'm leaving him. Thought you deserved to know before you make the same mistake I did. Waiting for him to tell the truth. No name. No phone number. Just that. I went inside. She was in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone like the world wasn't caving in around her. I tossed the letter on the table. It slid across the surface and stopped just in front of her coffee mug. She looked at it, eyes narrowing. Then at me. You went through the mail? I didn't even answer. She opened the letter, saw the photo, and her whole body stiffened. Her hands gripped the edge of the countertop like she needed something to anchor her. But she didn't say anything. Didn't cry. Didn't run. She just looked at me and said, I didn't know she knew. That's what she said. Not I'm sorry. Not it's not what it looks like. Not it was a mistake. Just, I didn't know she knew. I wanted to scream. I wanted to take every dish in that kitchen and hurl it against the wall until it cracked. I wanted to take the necklace I gave her last Christmas and toss it into the garbage disposal. But instead, I sat down, calmly, and asked her a question I never thought I'd say out loud. How many times? She hesitated. And that hesitation told me more than words ever could. 3, maybe 4, she finally whispered. But it wasn't like that. It wasn't about. Stop, I cut her off. Don't insult me with some emotional connection excuse now. You slept with him. You lied to me. You lied to his wife. You sat at our dinner table and called him just a friend. Do you even hear yourself? She opened her mouth, then closed it again. She had no defense left. The web had collapsed. Every thread burned. I stood up, grabbed the photo and letter, and said the only thing I could think to say. You were never going to tell me. You were just going to let me rot in this house thinking I was the reason we were falling apart. She followed me down the hall, begging me to talk, to sit, to let her explain the real story. But the truth is, I didn't want her story anymore. I wanted mine. Because I realized something else. She didn't just ruin our marriage. She ruined my self-worth, my confidence, my ability to trust my own instincts. She made me feel like I was crazy while she played house with a man who had a whole other life too. I packed a bag, my bag, and as I opened the door, she said, So that's it? You're just walking away? I turned back, looked her straight in the eyes, and replied, No, I'm finally walking towards something. A version of me that doesn't beg for scraps. And I left. But it wasn't over. Because I still had one more thing to do. Something for his wife. And something that would leave both of them wondering if the next knock on the door was from me or the legal team. I didn't go to a hotel. I didn't crash on a friend's couch. I drove 2 hours north to a quiet little rental cabin by the lake. A place we were supposed to go last fall, but she canceled last minute for work. I booked it anyway. Alone. The first night, I sat on the porch with a thermos of burnt coffee, staring at the moonlit water. No noise. No lies. No gaslighting disguised as concern. Just me, the breeze, and the echo of her betrayal swirling like dust finally settling. I didn't cry. I thought I would. But I didn't. I think I had cried enough in all the months before this, quietly, when no one was watching, when I still believed if I changed something about myself, she'd come back. Now, I didn't want her to. But I did want closure, not just for myself, but for the one person in this mess who had nothing to do with the games, his wife. The woman who sent me the letter. The stranger who risked humiliation just to tell me the truth. So, I wrote her back. Not to start some weird bond over shared trauma, just to thank her. I told her I received the letter, that I left, that she gave me the push I couldn't give myself. And I told her something else. She deserved better too. 3 days later, she wrote back. Her name was Madison. She told me Troy had been cheating for years. Not just with Danny, but others. Quiet affairs, sometimes flings, sometimes emotional. He was addicted to attention, and she had spent half a decade convincing herself that good enough was love. She also told me she'd filed for divorce, that her parents were helping her move into a small place with her dog and some peace and quiet for once. We kept writing. No flirting, no desperation. Just two human beings picking up their shattered pieces, not leaning on each other, but walking parallel paths towards something that looked a little like hope. Back at home, Danny kept calling, texting, emails. Even her mom reached out once, politely asking if we could work things out. But I didn't answer. Not out of spite. Out of peace. She and Troy both tried to patch their lives back together separately. I heard through a mutual coworker that he didn't last long at the company. HR had gotten an anonymous tip, maybe from Madison, maybe from me, maybe both, and quietly restructured his role. He's gone now. Danny? She's still trying to act like the divorce was mutual, that we grew apart. I let her keep her version of the story. I don't need the last word. I already lived it. A few weeks ago, I had dinner with my sister and her husband. My niece crawled into my lap and asked if I'd ever get married again. I told her someday, but only to someone who never makes me wonder if I'm enough. She said, "That's a good rule," and went back to drawing dinosaurs on the back of a napkin. I don't hate love. I don't hate marriage. I don't even hate her anymore. I just love myself more now. And if you're reading this, sitting in your own kind of pain, wondering if staying quiet will save your relationship, let me tell you, sacrificing your voice for someone else's comfort is not love. Sometimes walking away isn't giving up. Sometimes it's the bravest thing you'll ever do.